Imagine waking up one morning to find the global map of power, influence, and alliances dramatically redrawn, almost as if someone flipped a switch. For decades, the Middle East has stood at the intersection of strategic interests, natural resources, and historic rivalries, most often shaped by the hands of Western powers, especially the United States and its European allies. But today, a new story is unfolding, a story where Russia and China are rewriting the rules, forging partnerships that could recalibrate not just a region, but the entire global order for generations to come. Why is this happening now? What does it mean for the world, and for you, watching this shift from afar? Let's break down this complex transformation, piece by piece. To truly grasp the magnitude of change, let's rewind the clock. Since the end of the Second World War, the Middle East has been a chessboard for superpowers. The United States, with its vast economic and military might, brokered peace accords, propped up governments, and, most crucially, ensured its own energy security by controlling the spigots of oil and gas. The Marshall Plan, Operation Desert Storm, the Camp David Accords, these are just a few of the moments that cemented Western dominance. However, over the past 2 decades, cracks in this carefully crafted order began to show. Endless wars in Iraq, Afghanistan, and Syria drained resources and eroded local trust. The Arab Spring revealed deep-seated frustrations, while a global thirst for energy collided with environmental concerns and the rise of renewable technologies. The region was ripe for change, and into this fray stepped 2 ambitious, patient powers, Russia and China. Both Moscow and Beijing see the Middle East as far more than a pit stop for oil tankers. For Russia, the region is a proving ground for military prowess, an arena to challenge Western dominance, and a market eager for arms, technology, and political partnership. China, in contrast, views the Middle East through the dual lenses of economic security and technological expansion. Professor Emily Brown at the London School of Economics explains, China's economic engagement in the Middle East is primarily driven by its need for energy security and access to new markets. Consider this. China is now the world's largest importer of oil, and the Middle East remains its single most important supplier. Nearly half of China's oil imports come from this region, making its stability and goodwill absolutely vital for Beijing's continued growth. Let's look at the numbers, which tell a story of rapid evolution. In the past year alone, trade between China and Saudi Arabia surged by over 30%, reaching an astonishing total of more than $106 billion. This spike was powered not just by energy deals, but by collaborative ventures in infrastructure and technology. In Egypt, Chinese investment reached $7 billion, channeled into building new roads, modernizing ports, and financing renewable energy projects that promise to reshape the country's economy and reduce its dependency on fossil fuels. Meanwhile, Russia is not standing still. The state-controlled giant Rosneft signed a $2.7 billion agreement with Iran's national Iranian oil company to jointly develop 2 massive oil fields. This deal is just the tip of the iceberg. Russia and Iran have been deepening their partnership through a series of military, technological, and economic agreements. And in Syria, Russia has secured a 49-year lease on the Tartus naval port, effectively guaranteeing its military presence in the Mediterranean for half a century, a move that echoes the great power strategies of the 19th century. These are not isolated business transactions. They are the foundation stones of a new regional architecture, one in which Western powers are no longer the sole architects. Both Russia and China are flexing their muscles, not only economically but also diplomatically and militarily. When Russia delivered the advanced S-400 air defense system to Turkey in spite of severe U.S. sanctions, it signaled a dramatic realignment. Turkey, a NATO member, was effectively hedging its bets, opening the door to a multipolar security environment where loyalties are fluid and pragmatism trumps ideology. China, meanwhile, has woven its influence through the Belt and Road Initiative, an ambitious plan to connect Asia, Africa, and Europe through a web of roads, railways, ports, and digital networks. In Egypt, these investments have not only modernized transport infrastructure, but have also fostered a burgeoning green energy sector, laying the groundwork for long-term sustainability. The Belt and Road Initiative has poured billions into countries like Iraq, Jordan, and the United Arab Emirates, financing everything from solar farms to smart cities. In May of 2025, China managed to broker a ceasefire between warring factions in Yemen, a diplomatic triumph that showcased its growing clout as a peace broker. Dr. Artyom Kirpichenok from St. Petersburg State University notes, Russia has been trying for more than 10 years to involve China in reconstruction projects in Syria, most notably in the oil sector, underlining how these deepening ties are the result of years of patient groundwork. The stakes could not be higher. Russia and China are not merely seeking to fill a vacuum, they are actively pushing for a multipolar world, a world where power is distributed among several centers, rather than concentrated in the hands of a few Western nations. Regional alliances are shifting in real time. Oil markets are being recalibrated, with Saudi Arabia and Russia coordinating production cuts that ripple across global energy prices. New military partnerships are forming, sometimes in plain sight, sometimes behind closed doors. This rapid transformation carries both promise and peril. Could the Russia-China alliance trigger new conflicts or become the foundation of a more stable, multipolar Middle East? So, what would it mean if the old power brokers are pushed aside and Russia and China become the architects of the Middle East's future? The implications stretch far beyond the region itself. Energy security, technological innovation, trade routes, and even the rules of international engagement could be rewritten. And as the world watches, one question looms large. Who really stands to benefit from this seismic shift? Let's dive deeper into the possible futures this new alliance could create. First, there is the risk of new conflicts. As Russia and Iran deepen their military partnership, and with the prospect of a permanent Russian base on Iranian soil, the security landscape could shift dramatically. Imagine a scenario where American or NATO forces find themselves facing not just one, but two formidable rivals, working in tandem, on the doorstep of the world's most volatile hotspots. The presence of advanced Russian air defense systems in Turkey, coupled with Iranian missile capabilities and Chinese surveillance technology, could create a web of overlapping security interests that makes the region more unpredictable and potentially more dangerous. At the same time, China is forging ahead with economic initiatives that are transforming the foundations of regional economies. With more than $7 billion invested in Egypt's infrastructure and renewable energy projects, and a remarkable $1.2 billion commitment to Iraq's Mansouriya gas field, China is embedding itself as an indispensable partner. The plan is ambitious: to raise Iraq's gas production capacity by 40% before the year 2027, reducing reliance on imported energy and opening new markets for Chinese technology. If these trends continue, Western companies, long dominant in sectors like oil extraction, construction, and technology, may find themselves locked out of deals that once seemed all but guaranteed. The economic center of gravity is shifting eastward. But the story doesn't end with economics. Politics and diplomacy are being rewritten too. China's successful brokering of a ceasefire in Yemen in May of 2025 is just the beginning. Beijing has quietly built a reputation as a steady, pragmatic mediator, one not tied to the region's old rivalries or ideological baggage. Russia, meanwhile, has established a 49-year lease on the Syrian port of Tartus. This is more than just a naval facility. It is a strategic linchpin that gives Moscow a permanent foothold in the Mediterranean, allowing it to project power, secure maritime routes, and influence regional security for generations. As Dr. John Smith of the Middle East Institute puts it, Russia's military support to Syria ensures a long-term strategic foothold, countering Western influence in the region. Saudi Arabia and Turkey, two of the region's most powerful players, are not immune to these changes. Both have rapidly expanded their economic and energy ties to Russia and China, hedging their bets and moving away from exclusive reliance on the United States. In 2024, bilateral trade between China and Saudi Arabia surged by 30%. Turkey, for its part, increased its imports of Russian natural gas by 25%, making Russia its leading supplier. These shifts are not merely transactional. They reflect a strategic calculus to diversify alliances and maximize leverage in an era of uncertainty. Yet it's not all risk and rivalry. Some, like Iraqi diplomat Bahir Mardin, see the Russia-China strategy as a chance to change the rules of the game and establish a multipolar international system. In theory, this could mean a more balanced and less polarized Middle East, if these new powers manage their ambitions carefully and avoid direct confrontation. The hope is that multipolarity could foster competition, innovation, and even peace, as no single power would be able to dictate terms unilaterally. However, this outcome is far from guaranteed. So, what does all of this mean for you, wherever you are in the world, far from the oil fields of Basra or the ports of Alexandria? Why should anyone outside the halls of power or oil-rich capitals care about these shifting alliances? First and foremost, consider energy prices. When Russia and Saudi Arabia coordinate to cut oil production, maintaining a reduction of 1 million barrels per day as they have pledged until the end of 2025, global markets react. China, meanwhile, is locking in long-term supply deals to insulate itself from volatility. The ripple effects of these moves reach every corner of the globe. Whether you're filling up your car, paying your heating bill, or running a business reliant on stable energy costs, you are directly affected by these seismic shifts. Periods of cooperation can bring stability and lower prices, but conflict or market manipulation can send costs soaring overnight. Second, technology and investment opportunities are moving east. China's billions of dollars channeled into Middle Eastern infrastructure and renewable energy are opening new markets for technology, green energy, and logistics. If you're an investor, an entrepreneur, or simply someone interested in global trends, understanding these shifts is crucial. Companies tied to old alliances may find themselves outmaneuvered, while those ready to adapt could capitalize on the next wave of opportunity. The Middle East is becoming a testing ground for smart cities, digital currencies, and next-generation transport, a laboratory for the future shaped by Chinese and Russian innovation. Third, the rise of a multipolar world means more complexity, but also more opportunity for diplomacy. The era of clear-cut alliances is fading. Countries and corporations must now navigate a landscape where loyalty is fluid, competition is fierce, and yesterday's adversaries might become tomorrow's partners. This environment demands flexibility, sharp analysis, and a willingness to engage with a broader range of actors. For policymakers, investors, and even ordinary citizens, this means that staying informed and agile has never been more important. Let's return to the big question. Will the Russia-China strategy bring stability or ignite new conflicts? Who stands to gain and who stands to lose in this high-stakes game? The truth is, both outcomes are possible. If Russia and China choose collaboration over confrontation, working with local partners, respecting sovereignty, and prioritizing economic development, the region could see a new era of stability and prosperity. Multipolarity could reduce the risk of any one power dominating, encouraging competition that benefits ordinary people. On the other hand, if competition escalates, if red lines are crossed, or if misunderstandings spiral into conflict, the world may face new flashpoints, higher energy prices, and a wave of uncertainty that could destabilize markets far beyond the Middle East. Here's a secret fact that few realize. Iran's recent entry into the Shanghai Cooperation Organization in January of 2025 is not just a diplomatic gesture. It is a strategic pivot, paving the way for unprecedented security and economic integration with both Russia and China. This move could fundamentally alter the region's power dynamics for decades. Iran, long isolated and under sanctions from the West, now finds itself at the heart of a new network of alliances, giving it leverage and options it has not enjoyed in decades. As Karim Sajadpour from the Carnegie Endowment points out, as one of the world's most politically isolated and sanctioned nations, Iran views BRICS as both a geopolitical and economic counterweight to Western dominance. Let's not forget the global context. The Russia-China partnership is not happening in a vacuum. Tensions across the globe, from the war in Ukraine to disputes in the South China Sea, are pushing countries to rethink their alliances and strategies. The recent phone call between Presidents Vladimir Putin and Xi Jinping underscored their shared commitment to a political solution in the Middle East, condemning recent violence and emphasizing the need for diplomatic engagement over military action. Both leaders agreed to enhance communication and coordination, signaling that their partnership is not just transactional, but strategic and enduring. Looking forward, several scenarios could unfold, each with profound implications. First, we could see increased military cooperation between Russia and Iran, potentially leading to a permanent Russian base in Iran. Such a development would escalate tensions with the United States, Israel, and other regional actors, raising the specter of proxy conflicts or even direct confrontations. Alternatively, China may continue to expand its economic footprint, investing heavily in renewable energy, infrastructure, and technology across the region. If Western businesses are unable or unwilling to compete, the Middle East could become a showcase for Chinese innovation and standards, further shifting the global balance of power. There is also the possibility of a broader political realignment. Countries like Saudi Arabia and Turkey, traditionally aligned with the West, may deepen their relationships with Russia and China, reducing their reliance on American military and economic support. This could lead to the emergence of new regional blocs, each with its own interests and spheres of influence. The old order, anchored by American military bases and petrodollar agreements, may give way to a more fluid, contested landscape. Of course, these changes are not without risk. Heightened competition could lead to miscalculations, proxy conflicts, or economic disruptions. At the same time, there is a real opportunity for more inclusive and cooperative regional governance, if leaders can rise above old rivalries and prioritize long-term stability over short-term gains. So, what can you do in the face of such sweeping changes? First, stay informed. The world is more interconnected than ever, and events in the Middle East can have immediate and lasting effects on your daily life, from the price of gasoline to the security of your investments. Second, think globally. The rise of a multipolar world means that opportunities and risks are no longer confined by geography. Businesses, governments, and individuals who can adapt to this new reality will be best positioned to thrive. Finally, demand accountability from your leaders. Whether it's energy policy, foreign investment, or international diplomacy, the choices made today will shape the world you inherit tomorrow. So, what do you think? Is the Russia-China alliance a force for good or a new source of friction? Share your thoughts in the comments below. And if you want more deep dives into the forces reshaping our world, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the